Okay, so I'm finding out some more information about this problem I've got with this differential. One thing I'm finding out is that when you remove that nut from the yoke, you're not supposed to use the impact on it because that can cause some problems there with the teeth on the pinion. And also, when you remove that nut, you lose your preload on your pinion shaft bearings. But I've already got this off, and since I've got it off, I'm going to go ahead and replace the seal. If you remember, the seal looked pretty decent on this thing. And what I'm finding out though is that right here where this big thick flat washer goes, it should have some sealant around the shaft there, and it didn't have any. So in fact, probably where this fluid's coming out is wicking through from the spline of the shaft, and that's why whenever your drive shaft spins, it's slinging it all over the undercarriage of the car. So really, all I'm going to do, since I've got it apart, I'm going to go ahead and put my new seal in it, and I'm going to clean that up and put my sealant where my flat washer makes contact, and I'm going to be snugging that nut back down. There's a lot of really technical things that I don't know about on this differential, and you know, I'm just going to try to put it back the best I can, as close as it was, because there's a certain amount of pressure that you need to have on that preload for those bearings, and so I'm just going to kind of be guessing at that. But it's an old car, and I don't drive it much, and so for my purpose, it'll be okay. But really, a person needs to do a lot of digging, or at least let somebody that knows what the heck they're doing walk you through if you're going to rebuild a rear end, or do any kind of major work on it other than changing the fluids is probably what I ought to stick to. But anyway, so like I say, I'm just going to put it back together. Got my rear seal in my transmission. I'm going to put the drive shaft back in and see how that goes. Okay, I got my new seal on there. So now I'm going to put my yoke on, put me a dab of sealant on the back side of that washer, and snug down the nut. I've got my drive shaft back in the transmission tail shaft there. On the carrier bearing, you get two slots, one's longer and one's shorter, and I've got my bolt hole lined up there with the longer one. I'm going to put that bolt in, leave it a little bit loose until I get my drive shaft bolted up to my rear end. I don't tighten up my carrier bearing bolts just yet because that gives me a little bit more movement on my drive shaft and allows me to get it lined up and bolted into place. When I put my drive shaft in, I make sure that both sides are fully seated in that yoke on each side where your caps go, so that when you tighten it down, it's not going to break anything. It's going to be snug down the way it should be. Okay, now that I've got everything put back in and tightened up, it's just a matter of giving the U-joints a shot of grease. And in hindsight, I probably would not recommend tearing into that rear end seal unless you look at all the specs and everything and understand that you're getting into a lot of technical things that could potentially cause problems, at least for the shade tree mechanic like me. So anyway, that being said, the oil that it was leaking wasn't really that bad. It really wasn't terribly low on lube, but you know, it just, I don't like to have drips, and I thought that I could just take that nut off and take the yoke off and put a new seal in there and take care of it. But when you take that nut off, you're messing with some adjustments on the differential gears and everything, and if you don't know what you're doing, probably be better off just leaving that alone. So anyway, hopefully this will help, at least give you an idea of what all's involved, and thank you very much for watching.